Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Hello once again. This video is going to be about Ramadan. I first conceived of it as a written document, and I was going to call it Ode to Ramadan, but then I got inspired to do it as a video. The reason I am doing this is because every Ramadan, just before it starts or right at the beginning, I look for some inspirational talk or text on Ramadan and I can't find it. The ilm is all fine, and we have hadith and we have the Quran telling us that this is written for us, prescribed for us. But other than that, and we have also many hadith and scholarly sayings about the different rewards in Ramadan, but the deeper inner essence of the fasting is lacking, at least from my point of view. And I always feel that Ramadan is greater than the ilm that is being cited to us. So I hope in this short video to give you, as well as myself, a little more inspiration for by what I have understood as the meaning of this month, or rather the phenomenology, the experiential element of Ramadan. Okay, so we're going to do this in a few different points. The first point, I know most Muslims are quite aware of the ayat from the Quran saying that Ramadan is prescribed for us as it was prescribed for others before us, i.e. Ramadan is from the order of Allah. But what is this order of Allah? I think a lot of people think of Allah, unfortunately, as a general who gives orders, and we are the soldiers that have to execute those orders. And it's as simple as that. But there is an element that is like that, but it's much deeper, because when Allah orders something for us, there is benefit in it, there is meaning in it, there is profundity in it. Allah doesn't just make, arbitrary orders, capricious orders, like some people in authority or bosses who just want to assert their superiority. When Allah orders something, it's because it's for our benefit, and it's for our benefit on a very deep level, and it has a deep meaning and significance to it. So in some ways we have to adjust our notion of the order of Allah, just like we have to adjust our notion of the will of Allah. The will of Allah is always in our interest. It's for our benefit. It's for the benefit of everyone else around us as well. It's not just because Allah wants to arbitrarily impose His will. That would be called anthropomorphism, i.e. projecting onto Allah human qualities. He is beyond all of that. So whenever you hear that something's from the order of Allah, remember that this is for your benefit, not for His benefit. He doesn't need this. We do. Okay, so it's always interesting. It's always good, in the long run, even pleasant for us to follow the order of Allah. It brings peace to our heart and to our soul and brings elevation. So in that sense, yes, Ramadan is from the order of Allah. Okay. The other thing about Ramadan that very few of the scholars really speak about is the inner aspect, the real inner aspect. What happens in this month? And Ramadan is something that is sublime. I can't help thinking of the times when I heard some of the Judaic teaching about Sabbath, and the Jews look at Sabbath when it comes every Saturday as a queen that they have to celebrate its visit. And if the Sabbath is a queen on some level, then Ramadan is a king. And so we have to celebrate its coming into our presence, as if we would celebrate, well, nowadays in Western countries, not many of us have kings, and the ones that are there are figureheads. So, but we have to celebrate it like an honorable, a deeply, sublimely honorable guest coming to visit our homes and visit our hearts and our bodies and our souls. Okay, so in that sense, we have to cherish it in some way. I know there's a part of us, all of us, I think, that feel somewhat intimidated by the coming of Ramadan. I've felt that way, and in fact, I've taken to doing more fasting during Rajab and Shaban just to get some handle on this feeling of being threatened by the upcoming Ramadan. So now I try to do the white days in the middle of the month in Rajab and Shaban, fasting to prepare myself as a practice session, just like the sports people practice their art before getting on the ice or getting on the field, as you wish. So in this sense, Ramadan is in a way, it can be scary for some people, and the people who don't do it say, how can you do this? It's so difficult. But once we get into it, something else happens. And part of that is that there is a certain presence, hudur. People, Muslims who practice Ramadan, notice, for example, that when they do fasting outside of Ramadan, it doesn't quite have the same quality. There's a presence in Arabic, a hudur, during the month of Ramadan that is something that is very special, very sublime, and very holy. And that presence is also part of Ramadan. It's there during the day, it's there at night during the Taraweeh prayer, it's there in the morning when we get up to do suhoor. We can feel it as an actual entity if we tune into that. And it supports, that presence also supports our fasting. It makes it easier. On that note, it brings me to the third point about the process, if you want, the experiential aspect. This is often what's missing, I find, in the ilm of Islam, is what do you experience? Okay, this is what you have to do, this is how you have to do it. What's going on inwardly? And actually, Ramadan is a month of Jalal and Jamal. Okay. The severity and beauty. And the severity is there are times where it's difficult. There are times when you feel like you can't take it. There are times when you have headaches or feel woozy or dizzy or weak or your concentration is less. And there are other times that is all a reality. And the people who deny that reality, they annoy me. As people who know me know, I have a particular aversion for denial. So people say, oh, fasting, it's nothing for me. I do it, it's like an ordinary day. And I usually restrain myself, but I feel like saying, well, if it's so easy, you're getting less benefit. So don't worry if it's difficult at times. Not if it's so difficult because you're sick, that's another issue. But inherently there are difficulties in Ramadan. But there are, besides blessings, there are also what some of the Sufis call nafahat, which are like gentle, cool breezes, on a hot summer day. There are these states, or you could also call them hal or ahwal, states where you feel something gentle, something very peaceful, something sublime within. The Sufis call these hal, but the term is less important than what's actually going on within when you're experiencing it. And you have to stay vigilant, in order to find these, because maybe it's too easy to focus on, I'm hungry, I'm weak, I can't think straight, have a terrible headache. That's easy to concentrate on. But the nafahat, the breezes, the blessings that come inwardly, It's like you have to catch them. They're like butterflies, if you want. And you will see at times, sometimes this may happen right after you break your fast. Sometimes this may happen when you wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes it may happen right after Taraweeh prayer. But there's a special feeling, a special sweetness that you can come into contact with. And Ramadan makes that more frequent. It makes it easier to get to that place. Okay, so we mustn't forget that part of this internal sweetness of Ramadan. Now, there is one hadith that is intriguing that most Muslims know about, but it's very hard to understand what exactly it means. And this is a hadith by Abu Huraira, radiallahu anhu, says, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, every deed of the son of Adam will be multiplied between 10 and 700 times. That's an Islamic principle that Allah multiplies the rewards of our good deeds. Allah, may He be glorified and exalted, has said, except fasting, it is for me, for Allah, and I shall reward for it. He gives up his desires and his food for my sake. So Ramadan, the rewards are from Allah directly, except that He gives up for, I shall reward you for it. Okay, what does this mean? All other deeds have automatic rewards, but this one comes from Allah. There's some mystery here in what is being transmitted. But one of the ways I like to look at this is that Ramadan is also, on the other sense, Ramadan is also the time where we give up everything for Allah. So we stop on most of our activities. We still eat, some of us still work, but most of our other worldly preoccupations, our initiatives, our projects, we try to bring to a minimum. So Ramadan is a time, it's kind of like a worldly death. We give up everything during this month. We try to focus totally on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So not only do we fast, we pray in the evening, we get up early in the morning, we read Quran when we can, and all of these things, it's kind of like our focus becomes totally on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Perhaps that's why we get special rewards, but everything else is put aside. I personally do my work, but I don't do any new kinds of work. I don't do any difficult intellectually aspects of my work, and almost everything gets focused on the fasting and the prayer and breaking the fast. And so our time is dedicated wholeheartedly to Allah and to nothing else, if we do this properly. Another way I like to think of Ramadan at times, in order to motivate myself and understand what I'm doing, is to see it as a project, a 30-day project that you want to really do very well. So I try to keep account. I'm doing not too badly lately, making sure, of course, not missing fast days, not missing Taraweeh, not missing Suhoor, really trying to do a good job of it. Like it was a course in university that I needed to excel in, in order to get into graduate school, if you want. And in this case, the graduate school could be the akhirah, the other side. So take it on as a project that you want to do well, you want to do competently, you want to excel at it, and complete it in a proper way. So all benefit and all inspiration is from Allah, and I'm hoping that through this brief talk you will get some inspiration about how to approach this holy month. Inshallah, Allah will send more inspirations as well. If I get them, I will do other recordings, and may we all be uplifted and understand that all of our activity here is purposeful. Nothing is just, the modern psychology makes everything a negative. And I could easily see a psychologist thinking these people must be masochists to do. They just enjoy suffering. Hasha, no, not at all. Actually, they are the masochists because they lose all the pleasures, all the blessings, all the rewards, and Allah knows everything in the heavens that will be reserved for us for doing this very holy practice. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.